Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Interjections podcast, the Undiscovered Decade, as we call it. This is a podcast where we look back at the 1990s and try to dig up the hidden gems that we left behind in our youth, and
Or didn't find.
because they were invisible, or yeah, didn't find because they got buried by the box office. So for August 1993, we looked back at one of our patron saints, the sort of initial reason that we started this podcast, Robert Downey Jr. We had him back in 1990 with Air America, but this film that we're talking about this month, Heart and Souls, is a film that's sort of near and dear to my heart. So this was the Tristan pick.
And your soul?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
I had to
is
do it before
probably,
Jimmy got it in there.
Yeah. This is probably one of the first movies I really saw a lot. It's one of those things that you catch on TV, and my parents would leave it on. So appropriately today would have been their 40th anniversary. So I think this is poignant for them to look back on one of their favorite films. So I don't know if they even remember it, but we watched it a lot when I was a kid, for sure. And so I had this whimsical nostalgia about this film, but sort of like this film seems to have for itself, even within the confines of the actual plot. So it starts in the 60s because it's a weird conceit. Basically, a kid is born at the same exact time that a bus crashes and kills 5 people.
It's convoluted.
4 of the souls get latched onto the baby and become his guardian angels.
Yeah,
and
the fifth soul's the bus driver, and he goes to
disappears.
heaven.
So what's up with that? But
yeah, and it was his fault that they died too.
Right. So he shouldn't be going up, but
but he does get his comeuppance. Like he has his penance. He's
right.
gotta.
So eventually he comes back in 1993 and tells them, "Oh, you should have been finalizing your lives. Like you do one last task to make everything good, and you could come up." And they're like, "No one told us." So apparently God fucked up.
And in typical bureaucratic fashion,
God, it was an angel. An angel
knew.
was supposed to come down and tell them, but he never showed up, or she.
The notification never made it to the mailbox.
Yeah. So
Greg Kinnear should have been at that mail.
Yes.
We've all been.
So the 4 souls, though, are pretty good range of character actors, or eventually more famous people, including, you can see behind Corey's shoulder, Charles Grodin, who is a wannabe opera singer. Tom Sizemore, who is that ear that is next to Charles Grodin, talking to him in that scene. He plays a low time thief. Then we have
a greaser.
Yeah.
It's funny when Robert Downey impersonates him, he makes him way more vulgar than he actually is in the movie.
I know. Alfre Woodard, who plays just a mother who works at night, and Kira Sedgwick, who is a cocktail waitress. She's a cocktail waitress.
Yeah, she's
trying to make it in the big city of San Francisco.
Yeah. Fresh off the bus.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see them all a bit younger. So Charles Grodin's still in like the prime of his life because he's coming off of stuff like Midnight Run, but so there's not much else to it. They then go into their tasks and
it's really
resolve their lives. It's not really crazy after that, but
it's weird. The runtime's almost too short to accommodate all these plot lines.
Yeah, they wrap up those last 2 real fast.
They spend a lot of time introducing the characters, but then after that, everything feels rushed.
And
it kind of makes sense because they are kind of rushed because they do have a bit of time before they have to get picked up and go to heaven and get redistributed as a new soul to live on Earth.
I was gonna say, at one point, David Paymer arrives a little bit too early.
Yeah, almost every time. Yeah, I don't know. He plays hard and fast with those rules. And
the rules are weird. Sometimes they can interact with the physical world. Sometimes they can't.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Ghost in a way.
And I think that's why I like it.
At least in Ghost, they established that if you concentrate hard enough, you can move things in the corporeal world. And this, it's just like whatever fits the tone we're going for. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, Ghost has a better set of rules. Yeah. And I think that's why I liked this film in the first place, because I had seen Ghost first and liked Ghost. So this felt like a knockoff. But Yeah, I love the beginning. All the intro stuff is fun.
It's
When he's
very
a
good.
kid, they haunt him, and it's like having imaginary friends as a kid.
Right.
And I think that's why I liked it, because I was probably the age that Downey's character is at that time in like 1975 or whatever. So I don't know. Then he becomes an adult and he's a dick, and I did not remember him being such an asshole. So
Yeah.
Well, moral of the story is that's what therapy does to you. It turns you into a dick. So don't go to therapy, kids.
He gets his comeuppance throughout the film. Boy, another example of Elizabeth Shue being wasted in the 90s.
yeah, she had nothing to do in this. She plays his henpecked, or not henpecked, heart put
She's
upon.
nagging for sure.
She plays his put upon girlfriend who doesn't really get anything out of him. He's just doing zany things, and he's like, "Oh, it'll be fine. I'll be right back," and fucks up in public, and he's just like, "I guess this is fine. I love you."
Right.
Classic.
Well,
Downey.
There is a funny part
90s
that's kind of
romantic
meta now.
comedy.
There's a funny part that's kind of meta now where he's in the police station and he's talking to the police captain. He's like, "I swear I'm not on drugs." I was like, "Not yet."
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they knew. I keep thinking, like, you look at him in some of the shots and you're like, is he on cocaine right now?
I mean, he was hanging out with Tom Sizemore. Like, who knows what they were doing behind the scenes?
Yeah,
right.
They could have been doing all the things.
Grodin's just shaking his head. Why would you do that? Why?
Was this around the time that Robert Downey Jr. like broke into somebody's house and like slept in somebody's baby's crib?
Yeah.
Was that now? I feel like it was a little later.
I think it was around this time.
Yeah, it's in the 90s, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But that's not something he would want us to dig up a lot.
You know what
I don't
else
know
he
if
wouldn't want us to dig up? When he's doing an impression of Alfred Woodard and it comes dangerously close to blackface.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he pulled off blackface. I think
he's doing
fine.
the sassy black woman impression.
Yeah, we talk about.
But he's being possessed by a ghost.
Yeah, but she doesn't
That's
even act
black.
like that when she's her character.
I know.
He's very broad.
He's putting caricatures onto all four of them, and it's a little rough on Alfred.
And that's why he got
Just
the
a
role
little.
in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah,
Might have
you're
been.
right. Oh, yeah.
A guy
do-
playing a dude disguised as another dude disguised as a lady.
They
Maybe
do
this
have
is
a
Kirk Lazarus prequel.
that actually was a reunion between Alfred Woodard and Robert Downey Jr. For there was one in the Avengers where Alfred plays this mother who her son died from collateral damage, and so comes up to him and is like, "You guys got to stop." And so that's sort of the reason that he sides with the government in Civil War. That's the one she's in.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I had wondered once I realized that they were in this movie together if they if he got her in there because they're friends, from this movie.
Right.
But who knows? So I'm sure they seem like they're having fun despite the weirdness around the actual plot. So I think they have good chemistry. They get along together, I would imagine. Or they're real professional, all five of them. But
Yeah.
Neither one of them aged a day.
yeah. Well, they're ghosts.
I met her and Robert.
Oh, you mean like between
when you see him
in real
Civil War.
life?
Yeah.
Yeah. The only difference is he has that Iron Man goatee now.
Yeah, that painted on goatee that he's got.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I like all four of the ghosts. That's my favorite part. Like they all have distinct personalities.
Oh, yeah.
Their resolutions are a little shaky, but I love them doing whatever they can to
Very
resolve.
tidy and pat.
Yeah, I just like what they do as actors more than their characters' performances.
Honestly, I think they should have whittled it down to maybe 3.
Yeah,
I think
3
4 is a little too many.
Yeah, because they sort of just wrap up Kira's in like, oh, it was you all the time.
Yeah.
Is it? Did a ghost fall in love with Robert? Actually, I was telling Jimmy, I'm like, they had to watch him go through puberty. This is a little awkward.
Well,
Yeah.
what's more awkward, that or the dream in Ghostbusters where Dan Aykroyd's getting fellatio from a ghost?
I mean, that's a bit.
This is a convenient
That
time.
happened, no?
Yeah. It's convenient that we jump to full adult and he's been through several relationships. they mentioned they go to Aruba, so I think that's kind of cool. They got to go on a free trip to Aruba, even though they're ghosts.
Oh, yeah.
They at least get to see Aruba.
But I'm trying to reconnect why, because I remember the scene where like they just fade away and he's just crying because he can't see them anymore, and he's like a little kid. And then they just mysteriously appear 30 years later.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to. Was it just he couldn't see them anymore?
No,
well, they choose to fade away, which they
Yeah.
apparently had always known they could do, but didn't choose to do in the first place.
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, because like he was getting in trouble because like when he was a kid, like they were doing stuff that like a kid shouldn't be doing, but like since they're ghosts and they're adults, are basically supervising him. But like going to the horse tracks was a probably big no, and that got his parents into trouble. So and him singing and dancing in the bathroom at school caused concern. So like they were like, maybe he has behavioral issues and he needs to see a therapist. And for his sake, the ghost decided to be like, maybe we should dip out because like this isn't healthy for him to have like real imaginary friends, but nobody else is going to understand that because
the problem is he's a little too old to repress those memories though. Because if that happened to me at that age, I think I'd remember it.
Yeah, I'd bring it up.
I think you can see it in his eyes.
Yeah,
he remembers.
You were talking before the podcast, Corey, about like when you're watching a movie and you start writing your own version.
Yeah,
like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good, but there were moments I'm like, I want to explore what it's like if you're attached to someone as a ghost, and then you can appear to them. That's sort of Drop Dead Fred. That's the plot of that.
I feel like Ghost Town's almost like an unofficial remake of this, and it's better.
Yeah, that's what you've been saying to me. I've never actually seen it. You guys know this, the Ricky Gervais movie from 2010? You remember that happening?
It's actually got Greg Kinnear in it.
No.
Yeah. It sounded good, but it barely came out. It came out around this time in 2010.
David Cap, you probably know, the writer.
We covered him for Jurassic Park.
Yeah, he's a writer-director of that.
Yeah. So maybe that's what would be what we wanted from this film.
Yeah. The tones shift wildly. At one point, there's a musical number.
In this or in Ghost Town?
In this.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure if they did in that, I'm like, well, then that's both films.
No.
So yeah. Okay.
They actually had a couple of musical numbers.
Yeah.
Technically, if you count the Charles Grodin thing,
the Star Spangled Banner with B.B. King.
Yeah. Well, they'd have thrown his ass out of there so fast. B.B. King would have had to kicked out.
And he's like, "Oh, who's this guy up on stage? Yeah, I'm gonna go on stage with him and play background musical."
They needed a Cab Calloway moment like Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
That happens much more organically, though. So
I want to make special notice. This might be the worst age makeup I've ever seen.
On Alfred's neighbor.
On Alfred's neighbor and the guy that stole the stamps.
Oh, Richard Portnow?
Yeah.
Yeah, who we saw in that what was that Jeff Daniels movie that Jeff was really interested in that took place in New Jersey?
There Goes the Neighborhood?
Yeah, There Goes the Neighborhood. He was in that as the realtor.
Yeah, Alfred Woodard's neighbor looked like Medea.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah. It was a little rough. Luckily, she's only in like a minute of the film. So,
yeah.
But I said,
an Halloween costume in this?
Yeah, talk about rough moments. Yeah. It was kind of funny that they had Robert Downey Jr. inhabit Tom Sizemore, though, to steal back the stamps. And then he hits the old man as Tom Sizemore. This is not something I would condone as one of his guardian angels.
Yeah, that was a good deed.
Yeah.
Just beat up a dude.
He deserved it. Yeah, this is a weird film.
Yeah.
I definitely loved it as a kid, but it's really just that nostalgic beginning.
Right.
So
yeah, like the beginning, he balances all the storylines pretty well,
and
then I feel like once Robert Downey's character becomes an adult, it kind of goes downhill.
Mm-hmm. You know who it is, actually?
Very melodramatic and soggy.
The group that made this is the one that made Tremors, our first film, our first
Yes.
episode. Yeah, Ron Underwood, right? Yeah. And the two writers, they took a story by these brothers that I think are from Scandinavia somewhere. I couldn't really find any information. You said there were 4 writers. The bottom 2 wrote the story. And there's not much on them, but in IMDb, it has them listed as having a short film of it. So I'm real curious if this is better as like a 20-minute thing.
Could be.
But I can't find any information on an original version of this, like it says for their credit. So, and it looks like the guys from Tremors sort of took it and made it this into their own. So I'm real curious about the creative process of this, but I couldn't find anything online about it.
It's weird that in this movie they're not good with the economy of characters, but in Tremors they got that whole town that they established really well.
Yeah, you would think they'd have a better time doing this, but there's even less characters in this than Tremors.
Yeah, because like I said, Elizabeth Shue is she's
wasted,
thankless.
Yeah.
I think maybe they just blew the budget on the opening sequence, because like it starts off as like a cityscape zooming in onto the the city they live in, but like the whole thing is a miniature and very clearly a miniature, and like maybe they blew the budget on that. Like, okay, all right, so it's gonna be we're gonna go right into this and just gonna be a straight A to B process.
Or maybe it was all the ghost actions, like them floating through the air.
Yeah, special effects does add up.
Yeah, that was a little rough too. But I don't know. I still like the film nonetheless. But it's mostly nostalgia at this point.
Yeah, so. I mean, it is pretty cheeky and like fun. It's a good popcorn movie, kill the time. I imagine this if it came out today, it'd probably be like same deal.
Oh, this would be on Netflix or streamer.
Or that. Yeah,
this would not be in theaters.
Yeah.
So the modern
like in the
day
UK when it went
like
straight to video.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Did it?
It never got a theatrical release in the UK.
Wow. Well, that sort of makes sense, honestly.
Yeah.
What did you think, Jeff?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I just, the ghost rules, like Corey was saying before, there were too many characters to try to keep all of that straight. Or no, it wasn't that there were too many characters, that there wasn't enough time.
Yeah,
like, I feel like this could have been like, if you added another 20 minutes, would have felt like a more sizable.
They don't need to go through the rules.
I was fine with the length, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't need to go through the rules. They just need to be confident about what those rules mean.
It's funny because I looked at the timestamp when they were wrapping up the Alfred Woodard storyline. I'm like, we only got 10 minutes left. Are you crazy? How's that possible?
I do think because of this, if they're confident about certain things, they got it with his with Kira Sedgwick and Tom Sizemore taking him over in the boardroom. Like he's like, what am I going to do? How am I going to solve this? And they're like, tell them you're on this specific drug. This made you do this. They're like, yeah, okay. And it actually sort of sounds like it makes sense because those actors sell it. It feels like they're like, yeah, we don't have to go into why he's possessed. It just happens.
But it is,
and then it was funny and it was good. So
it is interesting though that we're talking about the different personalities of the 4 ghosts, and I think they're each meant to represent a different type of love in his life.
Motherly love, romantic love, brotherly love, and fatherly.
He doesn't really get to do an impression of Grodin, really. Unfortunately,
right?
He just sings as Grodin, which
I know.
I would like to see him.
Well, he's
because no one can impersonate Charles Grodin.
I know.
There is only
I want to
one.
see him try though.
He'll go. Yeah. He'll come perilously close to blackface before he does Charles Grodin.
Yeah. I think for the story, the impersonation of Grodin would be like the singing part, because like Robert Downey Jr.'s character probably doesn't really sing well, so like when he starts singing extraordinarily well, that's the
I just wish there was more
the
behavioral
personality of a Grodin's character.
aspect to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the character itself is kind of stiff, so there's not much for either of them to play with.
Now,
Because
he's not
really,
full
I guess the
Charles
thing that
Grodin.
he'd have to lean in on was his talent, not his personality. Because, like you said, his personality was kind of dry.
Like, I like what he says to Downey's character as a boy, and he seems kind of fun as like a father. And so I don't know if there was a way to have a differentiation when he's personable with people, but then he's on stage, he has such severe stage fright. There could be a difference. And then Downey could inhabit him and make him looser well on stage.
He's not full on Charles Grodin in this.
Yeah, they didn't develop that one very well. So maybe if you just have the other three, they're younger. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, like in that part, like where he's on stage and like forces Grodin to like possess him to get his deed done. Like it makes sense because like you got to face your fears, and he's already dead. So it's like, come on, man.
I feel like it's kind of cheating because
Downey's character was like, it's like you wait. He basically like just said to him, was like, you wasted your life not trying.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I guess it had to be abrupt to force him to finally get on stage and sing.
Right.
I think he didn't really conquer stage fright though, because he's still using Robert Downey Jr. as an avatar. So
okay. Well, what is he gonna do?
Fulfill his task.
There's no rules that can get him to actually.
That's a problem.
The
rules are not.
Yeah. It's not like Patrick Swayze. So.
I mean, it could be. Could have been.
It could have been.
He was doing an impression of.
He could have held hands with BB King, and be like do a little duet.
Just Charles Grodin building, making pottery. Robert Downey Jr.
Why would you make it like that? Why would you
making pottery through Robert Downey Jr. with BB King?
Would it have been a better scene?
Or better yet,
more memorable.
They're both crushing each other lovingly while strumming his guitar.
Yeah.
Just strumming along.
Honestly, if Charles Grodin inhabited BB King, that might have been better. Oh. It is interesting they don't ever go back to the parents because the parents are so frantic and worried about him.
Yeah.
And then we just never see them again. Alfred's just like, call your mother sometimes.
Yeah,
I would have thought.
Example of stuff being cut.
Yeah. Oh well. Not much else to this film, honestly.
Really not. Surprisingly more plot driven than you would think.
Yeah.
I was hoping for something a little more character driven. It's very Capra-esque at the beginning, but like you said.
Yeah, I'd give that first half hour an A+, and then the rest maybe like a B-.
Okay.
Yeah. So as a whole, I'd probably give it a B+.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, B+. Because it wasn't a bad movie.
Yeah, I'd give it a C. Very frivolous. The characters aren't really given much room to breathe, unfortunately, because they're slaves to the plot, and the plot dictates that everything's got to get resolved like that.
How many times did I turn to you, Jimmy, and say, Corey must hate this?
No, so many.
I was like, this is too frivolous.
Yeah. It can be frivolous and fun at the same time, but somehow.
Yeah.
Like I said, the rules are just not. They're whimsical in a way, but they got to be a little more concrete. I need a little more set in stone what these rules are. So yeah.
Also, they could have worked a little bit on making the romance part of the movie a little more.
Or cut it out.
Or cut it out, like something.
Yeah,
like, make it more. Give us more to invest in their love.
There's a really weird movie from Robert Downey Jr. like 5 years before this called Chances Are, where he comes back. He's resurrected as a new character and romances his own daughter as this new person. He has grown up and is now the age of his daughter.
Creepy.
And it's real weird, but the concept ends up working in the end because I don't know. It's weird, and you should watch it because
it's good.
Good. It's actually
it's better
than this, but Sybil Shepherd plays his wife, who's now his potential mother-in-law.
Yeah.
But this is a high concept like that, and I think if they had just gone into the Kira Sedgwick is his romantic partner in this, and then in the end she's like, you can find someone that's living, and I will accept that. I know I grew up with you, but now I have to let you go. That could be a better conceit than having him have to be with Elizabeth Shue, who's just like, I don't know what the hell's going on today. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know why by the end, you're like, why is she tolerating this foolishness?
Right. Then you have more time to develop the ghosts themselves, you know?
Yes.
I don't know. That's what I would do. Maybe that's what Ghost Town is about. But
they focus really on one ghost at first, and then it expands a little bit, but they're not.
Right.
It's not like a whole quartet of them.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, what would you give it, Jeff?
B.
Yeah.
Solid B.
Yeah. Cool.
Because, like many other things, I can see this becoming a musical somehow.
Honestly,
boy, this guy never devised his theatrical roots. Look at him. Look at him.
I think, because think about it.
You got to develop
one of the main characters whose last thing he needed to do in life was get over his stage fright. It's perfect. They get all these other ones.
Kira Sedgwick works at a lounge. She could have wanted to be a singer herself as well.
Oh, the little tidbit of the like the whole music theme of the movie. Like I forgot. Like there's that lullaby that's like that comes up like 3 or 4 times in the movie, along with the
that's like how
Walk Like a Man. What was it?
Yeah, Walk Like a Man.
Yeah,
like that came up like 3 times.
You have to have that as the big dance number.
Yeah, this movie is surprisingly musically themed.
So I'm calling it right now. Eventually, somewhere down the road, this is getting.
Pay attention to the road.
Right, exactly.
Don't look at people touching each other.
Don't scream at him while he's in the car.
That's how you get 4
regular
years.
Stephen Sondheim over here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so that's Jeff and my next project.
Right.
Yeah.
Make this into a musical.
Yep.
Does anybody remember this movie?
And the next Pasek and Paul.
Yep.
Gilbert and Sullivan over
Yeah.
here.
Speaking of high concepts,
yeah, we got a lot of poster boys this week for you, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff, we're flipping it up a little bit. We're gonna go to poster boys right away. Yeah. So we couldn't choose just one. We're exploding with posters. So they were all
it's like cover art Pringles.
Fascinating posters. So I'm gonna go right into this. And this way we're kind of covering both yours and Corey's sections of the podcast. So he has a couple others, but we're gonna go into these first. So
oh boy.
So I also have specific things.
Oh my god, what the hell?
So I also have specific things that I'm gonna
well.
ask you about.
Is that who I think it is?
So it's not gonna be like guess the plot, guess the title. It's not gonna be that rote. So you don't that's why I didn't blur their faces or anything. So I just wanted to know if you know this right off the bat.
Not right off the bat. It would take me a couple guesses.
Well, what are they doing?
Well, we've got Rob Schneider, 2 kids in headbands and samurai swords, on a surfboard, running over. Oh, wait a minute. I think I know what this is. But hang on. Are they running over Leslie Nielsen?
They sure are.
In the ocean.
You probably know the one guy on the
dressed
though.
Leslie Nielsen as dressed as the pigeon lady from Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is this Surf Ninjas?
It sure is.
Wait, so, you know the guy on the surfboard though.
2 of them. At least.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I said Rob Schneider. I don't know who the other.
So you know the other one.
I don't know.
He isn't a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, so he doesn't really know. Yeah, that's Kino from the second Turtles.
Which one? The one on the right or the one on the left?
The one in the front. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was the big. He kind of hit it big with the second Turtles, and so this comes off of the capitalized
Pizza Boy.
his minor name.
So he got typecasted into ninja movies.
Yeah, but he's legitimately good in this
He's
because he gets
legit.
to show off his martial arts skills. You know,
I think he became a choreographer after he stopped.
he did for a while. Yeah,
He's almost like Ki Hoi Kwan.
yeah, yeah. Became like a stunt director. So. But just to get some bonus points, I wanted to see if you recognize this. And the reason I picked this poster and wanted to do this was because when Three Ninjas came up for us, this is all I thought it was. I described this when we reviewed it, and I was completely wrong. I don't know that I've ever actually seen Three Ninjas.
God awful.
So
yeah, no.
This was a good film for me as a 6-year-old, but you know,
it's probably cringe to watch it now.
Yeah. Or maybe I'm 7 now. My
It's
birthday
bad.
was in
It's
July,
real
so.
bad.
Yeah, I don't want to revisit it. But so to get some bonus points, I'm going to ask, what would you give as a tagline for this?
Okay.
It's not that clever.
All right.
So
How
you
about,
said.
I don't know, something about catching waves and criminals? I don't know.
Ooh, that's not bad.
They're off to catch the big one, and
Ooh,
it's
that's good
Leslie
too.
Nelson.
Yeah, you actually got 2 good ones. Actually, you're fairly close.
Surfs up, time to save the world.
Surf ninjas. So you actually got some bonus points on that one. You're doing real well so far. So there's a bunch
You know,
more.
the sad part is,
Mm.
I was gonna say it's directed by Neil Israel, who did a lot of movies with the Zucker brothers.
Yeah, that's why Leslie's in it.
Yeah.
So this next one is going to be more like your basic poster boy. This was probably our favorite of the ones we chose, but this is the most obscure. So I know you will know this film.
No.
So why don't you describe this poster and then come up with a plot based on it?
So the
That's
poster is, all right, it's framed in like Christmas lights, and it's some dude sitting in a lawn chair on a roof, like overlooking the sunset, and his hair's on fire, and there's some sort of paper flying about. At first glance, I'm like, wait, did they make a Twisted Metal movie?
Yeah.
Before the game even came out?
Right,
For
exactly.
the show.
Well, yeah, exactly. Or like that's what the games were based on, because it's just this dude's got fire coming out of his head.
Looks like Sweet Tooth.
So what do you want me to do? Guess plot? Guess.
Come up with a plot for this, and then I'll see if you could come up with a title based on your plot. See if you're anywhere close to what it is, because this is not going to be directive towards what the plot is. But I'd rather you come up with it from the push board. This is like the ultimate thing we were coming up with.
It's like a very stressed lawyer or accountant or some sort of business type who's finally learning to let go because he made a deal with the devil.
Wait a minute.
That sounds a lot better than it probably is, based on what Corey was telling me.
Like he could not let go of anything until he made a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
And now he's just looking at the sky one last time. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not bad. I like that. So what would you call that? Because the name is not anything to do with the plot, I think.
One of the characters' names is in it.
As above, so below.
Which is a film from 2014. But that's fine. I like that based on your plot. So it is called, never mind. Tagline first. What would you come up with a tagline for this poster? Just as a bonus. Not necessary, but this might give you some more hints onto what it's actually about.
All right, hang on.
As above, so below might be a good tagline too, honestly. For that plot.
Just simply Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay, you got me to laugh. I actually like that. So
never start a romance you can't put out.
Oh.
So that changes it a little bit for you.
Okay. See, now I'm thinking of repunctuating that. Never start a romance, comma, you can't put out. Okay, so this is very clearly, this is like a bedazzled type thing. He falls in love with the supernatural.
That's probably better than what it is too.
Uh-huh.
So okay, I'll put you out of your misery. I was gonna guess maybe
This
if
does
you
not put me
you
out of my
could guess-
misery. Deborah Winger, Dennis Quaid, and Arliss Howard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It is called Wild or Napalm.
Oh,
I never heard of this film before we went through the month.
Wilder Napalm.
Yeah,
Van Wilder Napalm.
Why don't you tell Jeff what the plot is, Corey?
Okay. Dennis Quaid and Arliss Howard are brothers who have pyrokinesis.
Oh,
So it's literal. Arliss Howard's name is Wilder. He is a firefighter in a photo booth whose wife is Deborah Winger, who starts fires so that she can see him throughout the day.
oh my God.
Dennis Quaid is his wayward brother, who's a circus clown who comes back to reclaim Deborah Winger.
Oh,
You sound so ashamed.
Yeah,
Describing
because
it.
I watched it, and if I told you who the writer is, you'd probably assume it was pretty good.
Mm.
I told
Oh, yeah.
Tristan this the other
It's
day.
one of your favorites.
Vince
You ever
Gilligan.
heard of the name Vince Gilligan?
Oh my God.
Yeah, before he got into the X-Files and doing episodes of that and Breaking Bad, he was doing spec scripts like this, and it is poor. Movie's awful.
Yeah, we're surprised he got his career after this.
Oh my God.
yeah, no.
If he
Listen,
came
I
into
mean,
my office pitching anything after I saw this, which no, I don't think anybody saw it, but I'd be like, all right, you can leave.
I'm sure that's why he's fine. Because no one knew about
everybody
this.
starts.
With the movie called Wilder Napalm, that's kind of little. I don't know. That's just a weird title. That's like you know, might as well just call it Friendly Fire or
I don't know what the box office
Super
receipts
Napalm
were,
or
but
some
like,
shit like that.
Yeah, I
like
like
Tristan said, I didn't know this existed until we researched the month.
Jimmy got some bonus points now.
Oh
He came up with a better title.
I
So,
called it Friendly Fire.
yeah,
How's going?
for the actual plot it is.
Yeah, and
Where's the
it's
brother?
kind of like
Yeah, Friendly Fire. would've
again with like it's called Wilder Napalm, and like Vietnam they just called it Super Napalm. So
Yeah.
like, but so like it's napalm.
So it's kind of
just
confusing for people that are
bad
coming
fire
at it.
that just sticks around too long.
been- See now that
Longer
Brothers
than a
Bombay.
shirt. Go home, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah.
now this
You
is
guys-
just making me want a biopic of George Carlin based on Napalm and Silly Buddy.
Yeah.
yeah.
I have the book. That's a
So
good
yeah,
book.
you guys are
Oh, good
killing it so
jokes.
far.
Yeah.
So the next one, I want you to come up with a tagline.
Oh my
I
God,
did.
there's more. Okay.
Oh yeah.
We're
We're not even
done yet,
halfway.
Oh my God.
So,
buddy.
so why don't you describe this? The next thing
feel
will
like
be
he
the
knows this.
name, but then I'll have. There are actually 2 taglines. So,
All right. So it's a guy in a tux at the door, probably dead, or a ghost or something. He's got fog all around him, unless that's just the censoring. And
Nope,
his arm
not
is
all of it.
dismembered. But the dismembered arm is holding a bouquet of roses. So he's handing his arm to whatever presumable love interest opened the door with his creepy zombie grin.
So this can be some bonus points. This isn't the main thing I want from you, but this is one of my favorite taglines. So why don't you guess what a title could be for this? And then I'll just show you. Because this is just icing for this one.
Ghost prom.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
You have an idea, Jimmy?
Of course. Look who's coming to dinner.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
Look who's coming to dinner is not bad.
Look who's coming back to dinner.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
so he says this because it's called My Boyfriend's Back.
Oh my God! Really?
So you can guess the plot from this.
Wait.
I don't know if you want to say it because that might help him with the tagline, but why don't you try tagline first? Like, what would you say for this poster based on just the title? Because you can get it basically what the plot is from.
True love never dies.
That might be it.
Oh my God.
Yep. A comedy
Ah.
cruise True love never dies.
Motherfucker!
So you nailed it. So that's not my favorite tagline. There's one above his head that I just love. So you already got this. So this might be even more icing.
Wow, he's in the jackpot in points today, man.
Yeah, this might get your whole year. So
See, it's hard to follow up. He nailed the first one. So
I know.
Pressure, man.
You got my hopes up.
Yeah.
Hang on. Yeah, I don't know. Have her back by 10 or else.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad. You never would have gotten this.
Johnny would give an arm and a leg to date Missy. Well, maybe just an arm.
I love that tagline. But you got the real one. So I wasn't going to fault you. Didn't get this. This is impossible.
Jeff definitely had a heads up on this one.
I'll give you a half a point for that.
Give me a whole point, damn it.
Here's another one. This one's easy.
Come on.
I just wanted to see if you knew what this was and if you don't know what it is, what you would call this. That's all I cared about.
I mean, if you don't know what it is, you should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah. Really.
It's one of the best movies in the 90s.
I know what it is, but I can't remember the name.
Oh no.
There's a hint on the poster.
Yeah, no, I know.
Think of celestial things.
All right.
Like an asteroid or a
meteor man.
Comet. Yeah, there we go.
Yes. Good job.
Hey.
So funny brief story about this. This came on
movie,
TV.
I hope.
This came up on TV, and I was like, "Oh, the Meteor Man!" And my parents were like, "You know this movie? How did you see this movie?" And I'm like, "I haven't seen it. I saw an ad. It was just the poster." And they're like, "Where did you see an ad for the Meteor Man?" And I went upstairs. This was like 97 by now, and I found the exact Disney Adventures issue that the ad was in. I pulled it right out and was like, page 38. And they're like,
"Oh my god,
maybe you're autistic." So,
should this have not been in Disney Adventures magazine?
It's kind of a kids movie. They don't really curse or anything. It's it's a superhero.
It's a family-esque, it's lighthearted.
Yeah.
I mean, there are probably a couple things that might go over some kids' head if they don't live in the ghetto. Because the Bloods and the Crips get along, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna put our differences aside, and we're gonna fight the bad guy." And it's like, as a kid, you're not gonna know that unless you know about gangs,
right? But I do think it was surprisingly progressive for the time.
Little did we know
Robert Townsend did a good job.
Little did we know the real villain is the guy 3 names from the right.
Oh boy, yeah. So I thought it was a good movie back then. I don't know if it holds up.
Doesn't.
So what's the obviously?
Corey's a naysayer.
Obviously, it's a superhero movie, but like, is there a plot that we should be?
Yeah, what's the plot, Corey?
What makes this different?
I think Jimmy just said the plot pretty much.
Yeah, that's basically it. The hood has to come.
He gets powers and he's trying to combat the gangs in the inner city.
Yeah.
And Bill Cosby's in there as a favor, and he's given no lines, I think, because you have to pay. Because we know this because we're Hollywood insiders. You got to pay somebody if they speak dialogue to get residuals. So they gave him no dialogue.
They still had to pay him. His name's
you know what I mean. Like, you know how extras get bumped up if they got dialogue. They go into a different pay grade.
Sure. So you probably got a certain amount for being on the poster, though. Yeah. Anyway.
But
a lot of good actors in it, other than Bill Cosby, Robert Guillaume, Marla Gibbs.
I don't know that James Earl Jones. He's a shifty person. No.
Yeah.
What a lineup.
He's wearing a great wig in it too.
Yeah. I like the film, but we'll move on since
Black Man's better.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know if you recognize this, what it might be.
Oh.
It's a Friday the 13th movie. I know that.
Yeah.
Which one?
Hang on. Well, okay. Well, it's the one where everything's on fire. The mask is made of chrome, and there's a space snake going through it.
You'll find none of that stuff is in there.
Yeah, so that is not a hint technically.
Is Jason X? No.
Nope.
Oh, that's later.
It's not
Before
a space
that,
snake.
actually.
Jason Goes to Hell.
You got it.
I can't remember what number it is.
Yeah, so
you got it.
Given that you know that it's Jason Goes to Hell, what would you use as a tagline?
Let's see.
This is just a bonus. I wanted to see
Right.
if you knew which one it was. That's not too hard. This was like in case you hadn't
Evil.
gotten any of the other 4 posters.
This fall, evil goes back to its roots.
This fall,
That's good.
Not bad.
Jason raises hell in hell.
That's not bad either, especially for how campy these things are.
Jason visits his hometown.
Oh,
Oh wait, you know what? He kind of got it.
yeah,
Hey,
Oh.
evil has finally found a home.
yeah, not bad. So
Way too happy about that.
That fucking worm's not even in
The
it.
final
The
Friday.
Yeah, that'll.
I remember seeing this poster and thinking
Yeah,
this was going to
bullshit.
be in it. So yeah, so not bad. You may have done the best you've ever done when you had
That was pretty
the
good.
most you've ever had. So, maybe we should combine the sections. Nah.
See, I like this. I like this little chance to redeem myself halfway through the year.
Yeah.
There you go.